when you ask the people in this country, they are very evenly split. It's quite unusual to find such an even split. When we did our poll for The Guardian, we discovered that 40% of people were in favour of fracking, 40% were against fracking in their area, and about 20% were undecided. Now, that means that if you're pro-fracking, you can think there are 20% of people to be won over. If you're anti-fracking, you can think 20% of people, and then we're in the majority. So it's very unusual to have an issue where people are so split down the middle. And I think that really does say that people are affected by both arguments. You know, one is the argument that we need more gas, and this is a good way to do it, reduce our dependence on imported gas. But the other is that people are very worried about the environmental impacts.
I think what we need is accurate information on all sides of the argument, explained to the public to allow them to make their own decisions. I hope that Refine will help in that process. I think Refine has got a role to play. If it can provide impartial information which is properly explained to the public, that will have a role to play in educating the public and allowing them to make their minds up.
It is very difficult to get information on this, and we have found this as a newspaper. The Guardian has found it difficult to get accurate information in many ways, and we've had to ask an awful lot of questions of an awful lot of people, do an awful lot of investigating. And part of the reason for that is simply that this is so new. You know, it is a new thing for the UK, and part of it is that the only other really big example that we've got of where fracking has taken place has been in the United States, and there has been it's been extraordinarily difficult. There's been almost a cloak of silence on fracking companies there because of a loophole in the law in the United States. They haven't had to declare some very important things like the chemicals they're using, the processes they're using, and so on. And so it's been very opaque. So you can't sort of just, you can't start up a new industry like this and be so opaque. I think the industry, the regulators, the government, the NGOs, everyone involved has got to be more transparent, and then we can get some answers to some of these questions. And then perhaps the 20% of people who don't know where they stand on fracking, they might take a position.
I think in the UK we are looked upon in other parts of the world, including Europe, as having a gold plate standard of regulation. It's a quadruple layer. DEC look after the financial side of it and the insurance side of it. Then we have the Environment Agency looking after the environmental aspects of air, water, soil, etc. The Health and Safety Executive look after the well integrity, ensuring that the integrity of the well is proper, and that's backed up by an independent well examiner. And then finally you have the local authority who look after the surface issues, noise, light pollution, air quality, etc. And then that's finalised then by DEC themselves, who give you the actual final licence to drill.
It's very good to have this kind of panel where we expose all of the questions, and it's quite clear that it's going to be difficult to find the evidence that convinces everybody. But it's important to explore that. I tell my students there are three things. The first corner is technical, can we do it? The second is economic, can we afford? The third is, will anybody let us? Unless we can address all of those, and that who lets us is a very broad question. Public, legislators, government. And we actually do need to deal with that in these issues. And not just these, rad waste, etc. But that's the environment in which we function now.
One of the things we lack is a basic understanding of the conditions that happen in the ground before we drill a borehole. Now, we know from the work in the United States that they're having difficulty understanding the impact of shale gas extraction because they lack this baseline. In the UK, because we've only just started, we have an opportunity to gather that baseline data. In other words, gather the scientific evidence to measure.